didn't think someone born in a Hindu Brahmin family could actually become Muslim. It didn't seem possible to me. It was not something I could have entertained. I was 15 at the time, 15, 16. My uncle had died in very tragic circumstances around about the age of 15. And in the Hindu tradition, the eldest son has to perform the final funeral rites. And so he only had 3 daughters. I was the son of his elder brother, and I counted as his sort of eldest son. I was very close to him. So I ended up going to Benares, which is a place in India, sometimes pronounced as Benares, which is a place where they perform the final rites, and where usually the body is taken, burnt, and turned into ashes, and flowed into the Ganges. So I went there, and I had to do a series of rites for my uncle. At the final point, I even saw the ashes of his body, and I saw this along the ghat, along the area where a lot of bodies are being burnt regularly, and they turned into ashes and they literally flowed into the water. It kind of struck me that life is, at least the way we think of it, is very impermanent. When I started looking at Islam, what struck me was it didn't appear what it should have appeared to be. So it wasn't, an Arabian religion 14 centuries ago, one of many other religions. So there's Hinduism, that wonderful combination of different faiths, and from the Indian subcontinent, different ways of thinking, because the term Hindu itself is kind of a catch term for lots of different ways of looking at things within the Indian subcontinent. And then you had Judaism, which is kind of the people of Judea, the people of Israel, the tribe, and so on. And Christianity generally centering on the person of Christ and what happened, and the idea of his redemptive sacrifice. But Islam was kind of giving a more broader message. For starters, the Prophet Muhammad, who's, at least to my mind, seemed the founder of Islam, is not mentioned in the Quran, apart from 3 times. And the Quran's got a whole chapter on Mary. Well, she's not Arab, technically, in my mind. And then there's Abraham popping up, and Noah popping up, and Jesus popping up. And what's that got to do with, Arabia at that time? And then a different narrative started emerging. So the first narrative I had was there's lots of different paths, everyone's going to God. And then a different narrative emerged, which is God is one, and the essence of his path of submitting to that oneness is one. Why would you do that? Why would I convert? It was not something, it never came to me. And then even as the faith was emerging, it was sort of like, yeah, but it's kind of like growing as a seed. It sprouted. And when it was, I believe this. Now what does that entail? And when that thing happened, then it was always like, this is a bridge. And can I ever cross it? Can I ever actually take that step? I mean, what would my family say? What would anyone say? And then I think what finally pushed it over was that, God actually created an environment around me where I saw other people convert. And someone who I really looked up to, who had converted a year or 2 before, and his life had literally changed. I was walking with him, and he literally looked at me and he said, "You don't know how long you're going to live. You don't know how much time you've got. And he said, don't you want to live your life, or at least profess, say what it is that you believe in to yourself. That whomsoever Allah wills to guide, He gives them expansion. He expands his chest lil Islam, he expands his chest for God. And sometimes there's a term, I think it's called yuqallib, to literally turn a person. And that was my sensation. I literally felt I was turned and I was span, and it was like this sense of expansion. So yeah. And then what was really interesting is the next day when I told people I wanted to become Muslim, and I said what I did, the way you become Muslim, it was just a coming home. It's like, oh, this is me. This is a part of me. This is what I've always known somehow, somewhere I should be doing.